guys, how's it going? This is episode 6 of discussing individual towers. Today we're going to go over the bomb tower. This is a very interesting tower. It's been around since BTD1. So let's get started talking about the bomb tower here, guys. I got a couple set up here already. I don't know why. I was just checking some things out. And first of all, where should you put a bomb tower? Normally you would want to put a bomb tower somewhere where you're going to get the most shots out of that bomb tower. Now this is a bomb tower is actually a little bit different than some of the other towers, like a boomerang tower for placement. It's actually better to put it somewhere near the middle of the map instead of like a corner, because even though it may look like it's getting more shots off, it's actually not, because if you put it somewhere in the middle, a bomb tower can actually shoot in almost the entire range of the game, and that's because it has quite a few range upgrades involved with its separate upgrades down here, and it can actually, after it shoots farther than its range, its bomb will actually explode out of its range, so it can actually hit almost any balloon on the map within reason. Obviously it can't hit every single balloon, but pretty darn close. So this actually has a huge range compared to a lot of other towers that you might think of. So that's one interesting aspect about the bomb tower. Another interesting aspect I'd like to talk about is the specialty building really fast. Now the specialty building for the cannon is actually really darn good. I mean, I wouldn't say it's the best, but I would say it's probably one of the best. And the reason that is because the specialty building is that it can pop black balloons or zebra balloons or anything that can't get popped by bombs in general. So why is that good? Now you might say, it's kind of pointless because a 4.0 or 4.2 cannon can pop blacks and zebras anyways. But I'd have to disagree with that, because 3.2 cannons are actually a lot more economically efficient, and if those guys can pop black balloons, you're actually dealing with a lot more popping power. And that includes Moab popping power as well. So I'll get to that in a minute. The 3.2 cannons actually aren't that good at Moab popping power, but I will get to that in a second. First of all, let's talk about the upgrades here. So the upgrades for a bomb tower, we're going to go over the left side first, which first of all is an extra range. And a 1.0 cannon, you usually don't want to just get a 1.0 cannon, and you usually don't want to even get a 0.0 cannon. 0.0 cannons can be efficient, but you'd prefer some other towers. You know, instead of getting a cannon, you'd rather get some of these towers that are better with more accurate popping power, and then get some farms and stuff. These cannons here are more for lots and lots of balloons, but a little bit less accuracy. So let's get started after you get the first range upgrade, which increases the range quite a bit. I mean, that's up to your discretion if you're going to get that. You usually want to just get that because you're saving up for some of these higher tier upgrades anyways. So, and then the interesting upgrade is actually the frag bombs, which is definitely something I need to talk about. Frag bombs is interesting because it doesn't have that much popping power, but it itself can pop black balloons. And the cannon shot, or the bomb, can't actually pop the black balloons, but what can pop the black balloons is actually these little frags that pop out. So let's just show you that really fast, that these guys can pop black balloons. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to see, but it can actually pop black balloons. So let's put it a little bit slower. Alright, so let's put 2 there, and let's see if that makes it a little bit easier to see. Hopefully. Alright, well, I guess I can't really show it too well. Anyways, they can pop black balloons, and you really couldn't see the frags popping them, but you did notice that they did get popped. And it's not the actual bomb that pops it, it's the frags. So that's a little bit interesting. And the next thing that's interesting about these frag bombs is that, like I said, they don't have extreme popping power, but what they do have is extreme, or pretty darn good, Moab popping power, which you might not think of. Now, in a lot of daily challenges, you actually have to use bombs, and you really don't have a lot of towers that have some good Moab popping power. So what should you use? Sometimes it's actually best to use these guys, which you might not think about. And let me show you just a couple of these guys versus a Moab. So let's make a couple more of these guys, and let's see if we can pop it. I'm not really sure. I mean, let's get 4, just to be safe. 4 versus a Moab, and let's see if I can pop it. And, I mean, it's doing some pretty darn good damage, but I wouldn't say... Oh yeah, I might pop it, actually. Let's see. Oh yeah, it popped it pretty easily. It didn't pop any of the ceramics or anything, but it did pop the Moab. And, I mean, yeah, you're talking reasonable amount of money. 650 plus 200 plus 300. So that's like $1,100, so you're talking like $4,000 to pop a Moab. Yeah, it is a little bit of money, but for some of the daily challenges, this is one of your best bets. And plus you're going to have other towers popping in anyways. So let's get back down to this guy. And let's talk about the next upgrade, which is one of the best upgrades for the cannon, this is cluster bombs. And cluster bombs is kind of expensive. It's kind of hard to save up for, but sometimes on some maps it's actually super epically awesome. And this is my favorite upgrade, like I said, for the cannon. If you're going to get a cannon, you might want to get that. One thing I think I forgot to mention about the frag bombs is that it actually increased the range. So let me show you guys that really fast before I forget, just so people don't get mad at me. Watch the range really faster when I get frag bombs. Okay, it increased just a tiny bit, but it did increase. And let's get back cluster bombs. And cluster bombs are really good, but they cannot pop blacks at all. So you actually get a downgrade on popping blacks. But you get a lot more popping power and a lot more area of effect that this cluster bomb can do. So let's just show you a couple balloons here. We'll send out a couple of these guys and just a couple black balloons just in case, just to show you that they cannot pop black balloons whatsoever. They can just run by, and unless you pop those, they're all going to get by. So cluster bombs is really good for a lot of random balloons, but it's really not that accurate. If you notice, a couple of his cannons actually missed quite a bit, and there's actually a kind of a fix to that, which I'll show you in a little bit. It's just getting rockets, but at the moment he's really not that good. If you're going to get just a 3-0 cannon, he's really kind of worth it just because he has so much popping power, but I'd say don't just get a 3-0 cannon. You'd better off getting a 3-2 cannon. But let's talk about the left side upgrade first, which is the balloon impact. This is a 4-0 cannon, and balloon impact can pop black balloons. And this is kind of interesting because you usually say, oh, cannons, the main downfall is that they can't pop black or zebra balloons. And yeah, that's usually their main downfall. That's why this is actually a pretty good upgrade. But it's really darn expensive. It's $3,200. And you don't get like infinite popping power or anything like that. Ceramics really don't get owned by this unless you have something else around that actually pops a lot of ceramics or has a lot of ceramic popping power. So this guy can actually pop a lot more balloons than 0-3. And it also stuns them. And when you stun balloons, it actually just stuns them for like a quarter of a second or something like that. I don't really know how many frames it is. If you guys comment and tell me, you can let me know, but I really don't care that much. I know how good it is. What else to talk about? This guy, not really that much. I mean, it's a pretty good upgrade. I'm going to get a 3-0 cannon. I don't always get a 4-0 cannon, but sometimes I do. So it's just kind of dependent on how I'm doing and how many balloons are getting by towards the end of the map. Another thing about this guy is you usually don't want to put them towards the front of the map. If you're going to get something like this, you usually want to put them sort of towards the end of the map. And on this map, it's really not too good because the beginning and the end are pretty much in the same spot. But a lot of maps, you have like a beginning and you'll have something like over here is like an end. And you want this guy more towards the end because he's not that good versus Moabs, but he's good versus the low tier balloons. And he's not even that good versus ceramics. He's good versus like a million reds and blues and greens. He can pop as many of those as you want, but he can't pop ceramics. Or Moab's not very good at all. So let's now talk about the other side. And the other side you really need to pay attention a lot to because it's actually a lot better to combine these upgrades instead of just getting like a 4-0 cannon or a 0-4 cannon. So first of all, bigger bombs. If you're gonna get a cannon, one of the first things you want to do is probably get bigger bombs unless you have enough money to save up for a 3-0 cannon. Now, a 3-0 cannon is definitely better than a 0-1 cannon, even though it's more expensive. So you could keep that in mind. Usually what you want to do is get bigger bombs. And bigger bombs is actually a lot bigger bombs. It's a lot bigger than you think. I mean, I don't know if you guys can really tell the difference, but these bombs are a lot bigger and they can pop a lot more balloons. And it might not look like it, but they really can. So bigger bombs is obviously a good upgrade. But you're talking already $1,000 for this guy, so you usually don't want to use him in the beginning of the game. You usually want to use him sort of towards the end or the middle of the game. Right around 30 plus is when you can start using these guys. The next upgrade is the missile launcher, and this is also an interesting upgrade because you usually don't want to just get a 0-2 cannon. Usually you're going to get a 3-2 cannon or even a 2-2 cannon if you're just trying to destroy a lot of Moabs. And the interesting thing about the missile launcher is it not only makes you shoot faster bullets, it also makes you have a faster rate of fire. So it does both. And I don't think it increases any sort of damage. It says it converts the tower into a missile launcher. The missiles have a higher velocity, longer range, and more popping power. So this is another range upgrade for you guys. And if you check, its range just goes up a tiny bit, but it does actually increase. And missile launcher, there's really not that much to talk about. I mean, it does increase a lot of things just to get that $400 upgrade, so that's why I usually want to get that. It does help stop a lot of your misses. So you know how the cannon was actually missing a lot before? It'll actually stop his misses. I think the pink balloons, he can hit the pink balloons pretty easily usually without missing too much. At least relative to the other one. I mean, he did miss a couple times, but the regular cannon tower would have missed a lot. So his shots go a lot faster. The next upgrade is a Moab Mauler. And this does 10 times damage to Moab, so that's pretty intense. Sometimes you need to use a lot of Moab Maulers right at the beginning of the map. And those do obviously help versus the Moabs. And obviously you want to put the Moab Maulers near the front of the map. You don't want to put them near the end of the map. That's going to do pretty much nothing. So I hope you guys at least understand that by now. Another thing about the Moab Mauler is, you know how I was talking about how frag bombs are actually good versus the Moabs? Well, getting a Moab Mauler plus frag bombs is definitely a thing you want to do. That's very, very good versus Moabs. If you're going to get a Moab Mauler, you better get frag bombs because that's going to make your tower, obviously, good versus Moabs. Also, if you're getting a couple Moab Maulers, like 4, 5, 6, might as well just get a Monkey Village and upgrade him to 2-0 or 2-1 for that matter, because it'll help them fire a lot faster and you'll actually get more out of each tower. And that's usually only for when you're getting a lot of towers that are kind of low cost relative to level. So if you're level like 80 and you're buying like 10 Moab Maulers, you know, you should probably get that Monkey Village upgrade. And that's kind of for a future video. I just wanted to mention that so nobody says, oh, you forgot to mention lots of things. Because sometimes, yeah, I forget to mention things, but a lot of the times I just kind of leave stuff out because I don't think it's that important. Or sometimes, yeah, I do forget because I'm not all knowledgeable and all knowing about balloons. So, the Moab Mauler. It's pretty good. I mean, it affects Moabs. It really doesn't pop balloons that well. It can pop that as many balloons as like a regular cannon, but obviously you don't want to pay $900 for a regular cannon. You want to save up for a Moab Mauler. And what do I think's better versus Moabs? A 3-2 cannon, a bunch of 3-2 cannons, or Moab Maulers? And that's actually kind of iffy. Late game, I would actually prefer to mass almost more 3-2 cannons versus Moabs for giant bunches compared to Moab Maulers. And I'd probably integrate both of them in there, but I don't really know how to explain it to you guys. A lot of people are saying like, oh, Moab Maulers are definitely better versus Moabs, which I would kind of agree, but kind of not agree. Just because versus oh my gods, yeah, the Moab Maulers are probably better, but when you have a ton of low-level Moabs, it's actually almost better to get the 3-2 cannons because they have multi-purpose. They have multi-purpose versus Moabs, as well as the ceramics and stuff. So that's just something to keep in mind. I mean, don't argue with me and say Moab Maulers are definitely better versus Moabs. Because yeah, they probably are, but in certain conditions, in certain cases, I'd actually stick with a lot more 3 or 4-2 cannons over the Moab Maulers. And one reason for that is because Moab Maulers, you're usually just going to mass Moab Maulers. You're not going to usually mass Moab Assassins, which is the next upgrade, which 4-2, which is a 4-tier upgrade for the cannon, is better than the 2-4 Moab Assassin, in my opinion, and that's just because I don't like abilities. I don't feel like playing in free play rounds using abilities. So I guess that's kind of the reason why I should explain it to you guys, or the way I should explain it to you guys, is that Moab Assassins are really not my favorite, thing. I mean, I'm not even really sure because I don't use them that much. I mean, yeah, I can pop a BFB into 4 Moabs, but then, what else is it going to do? Not really that much. I'd rather save up for, because this is $3,200, by the way. It's the exact same price as a 4-2 cannon. Or not really a 4-2 cannon, the 4th upgrade for the cannon. Moab Assassin, I don't even really know what to say about it, guys. I mean, it's not my favorite upgrade. I wouldn't get it. I'd rather just mass a bunch of Moab Maulers instead of Moab Assassins. And that's because Moab Maulers mow down Moabs a lot easier than clicking abilities all the time, and those are kind of not really luck-based, but kind of timing-based, and timing-based things are just not my style. Don't really like to wait and time things right. I just want to win the game pretty easily, and that's why I don't normally use abilities. So that's really all I got for the cannon. I mean, I hope I didn't miss anything for you guys. If I did, you can put in the comments what I missed. Yeah, that's really all I got to talk about. I'm trying to think of anything else I could say so you guys don't get mad at me about forgetting things, because I know I've been doing that for a couple towers. So, yep, I guess that's it. Thanks for watching.